Welcome to tonight's special presentation of Meet the Chef, presented by SUU Community and Professional Development and Southwest Technical College. Here to guide us through a tour of Italy cuisine, Chef Drew Nehrenz, Director of Southwest Tech's Culinary Arts Program.
All right, welcome, fellow Italy travelers. Chef Drew here. I'm going to teach y'all how to make Bucatini alla Carbonara, right? So this is a very classic Italian dish. I have seen it done a couple different ways, and I don't think that those ways are done right. So I'm going to teach you the right way. So we've got a couple different really nice ingredients here that we're going to use. One of them is pancetta. So this is pancetta. Pancetta comes from the pork belly. It's very similar to bacon. So it has been cured with a curing salt, a pink salt, which is a nitrate. And then they rinse that nitrate off, and then they wrap it up into a log so it looks like a pinwheel. And they put a bunch of freshly cracked black pepper in there. And then you hang it for about 3 months to dry, right? So this is the final product. I've taken that pancetta, I've cut it into lardons. So lardon is a cut of pork product about that big. The term goes back to lard, right? Lardon. So this is how we would cut that. And then the other thing that we have that's really, really awesome is extremely fresh micro pea shoots, right? So these are the shoots that the pea plant will shoot off prior to making peas, or the pea pods. So these have a lot of pea flavor, and this is a great substitute for fresh peas because fresh peas just aren't quite in season yet. This is my next best thing. I actually really like these because of the flavor and the crunch you get out of them. A little bit more texture than an actual pea. And this is what the pea shoot looks like. They're also called pea tendrils. If you're looking for pea shoots and you can't find them, you might look for tendrils. So these were created here in New Harmony by a company called Country Gals. And they do really awesome microgreens for me. Pretty awesome company to have local. As a chef, for me, it's ideal to be able to find product that is local. If I can source something from my county, my state, heck, even 200 miles, I consider that local. If you have to go down to Nevada to get fresh peaches, why not? It's still considered local. And then we're going to be putting a raw egg yolk on top of this pasta once it's all finished. And so the idea with that we're using a pasteurized egg, which is a little bit safer than a farm fresh egg. If you're using a farm fresh egg, that's great. Just try to use it as fresh as possible. Anytime I have farm fresh eggs, if they go beyond a week, I hard boil them and I peel them. I don't consider a week fresh anymore for an egg. And then I also have some reserved pasta water. That's all it is starchy pasta water. The starch helps create an emulsion when I make this sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and start here. Let's start just by warming my saute pan. I'm going to get it on high heat, get it nice and hot, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to help the process. So we're going to render our pancetta lardons, and rendering means to remove the fat. So you want to remove the fat, start to crisp it up, let it develop some texture, some crunchiness. So the olive oil is going to help that process just a little bit quicker You could do a dry pan, just start on low heat, just like you're cooking bacon at home. You want to start low and then bring the heat up as some of that fat is removed from the product. So while we're cooking that, I'll go ahead and show you. I've already got my pasta cooked, right? So this is bucatini. Bucatini pasta is a spaghetti noodle that has a hole through the middle of it. Almost as if they made their spaghetti with a rope or a piece of string through it and then they pulled it out. Well, that's not really how they do it. They have an extruder, so you put your dough into a machine. The machine turns the dough and pushes it out, kind of like a meat grinder, if you will, and it gives that nice shape of the noodle. I know you can find bucatini pasta at our local store here in Cedar City at Smith's. I used to have to find it at Harmon's, so I know for sure that we have it at Harmon's. So we've got a good amount of fat in here, and that's going to be the main flavoring in your sauce. A lot of people will think that much fat isn't great for you, but you got to keep in mind olive oil is one of the healthiest processed fats that you can eat. And then the fat from the pancetta, it's animal fat. And again, that's really good fat for you. It's the highly processed fats that you want to avoid. So this is starting to get nice and rendered. It's starting to crisp up the pancetta a little bit. The other thing that's happening is little bits of that pancetta is sticking to the bottom of my pan. And we call that fond in the chef world. That fond is a, you got to kind of think of it as layered bodies of flavor, right? So that fond is going to help add to this sauce, right? So now that my pancetta is nice and crispy, I'm going to add my garlic. If I added my garlic too early, it would have burned by now. So I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic, stir it in just a little bit, and I'm going to turn my heat off. All right, now I'm going to hit it with some of my starchy water. And we're going to let that reduce a little. So now I'm putting it back on the flame. It stopped the cooking of the bacon and the pancetta, and now it's starting to emulsify the starch in the water, and the fat in from your bacon and your olive oil are going to emulsify together and make a nice sauce. Meanwhile, I'm going to take my pasta and I'm going to drop it into some boiling water just to reheat it. It's already cooked. I'm just reheating it so that it's a little bit faster than if I was cooking it from scratch. As a chef, we're always trying to save as much time as possible. So that's heated up. We're going to put it in with the pasta water. The sauce is starting to develop. And a little bit more starchy water. And now at this point, I'm going to add my pea shoots. So I'm just going to grab a nice bunch. That's about a bunch right there. And I'm just going to break it by hand. Italian food is very rustic, so doing things by hand is very common. So toss those around. Let that liquid kind of cook your pea shoots. And then we're going to add a little bit more pasta water to help develop this sauce. Freshly cracked black pepper is a key ingredient to a good carbonara. And then we're gonna grate some fresh Parmesan over the top. And again, the fat and the cheese and the starchy water are all gonna come together to develop a nice creamy, rich sauce. Okay, so you can see the sauce has formed. You got a nice gloss over all of your noodles. We're gonna hit it with just a little pinch of salt. And then we're gonna plate it. Now I like to make a nest with my pasta. Give yourself somewhere to put your egg. So I twirl it and then just kind of pull it into the bowl. And I bring all those other ingredients over the top. Open up a little spot for the egg yolk to go into. Try to have your eggs out. Let them come to room temperature. Ideally, you don't want to take them straight from the cooler to put into your pasta. So that's going to go right on to the pasta. And the temperature from your pasta and the sauce is going to cook the egg yolk. Now the final touch, one of the final touches, lots of Parmesan. I like to make it snow. The more Parmesan, the better. And one more shot of really nice flavorful olive oil. And that's it. So there you have pasta carbonara. Now, the important part of this dish is when you sit down to eat it, you want to take your egg yolk and break it up. You can do this with a fork and knife. And then you just kind of toss your pasta around in that egg to give it a really nice richness. And there you go. Bucatini alla carbonara.
Fascinating that the egg cooks enough just from the heat of the noodles.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just fascinated that the egg cooks just from the heat of the pasta.
Yeah, it's really nice. You don't want to scramble the eggs.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
important part. You really want the cooking of the yolk to be very gentle. And that's why we just let the noodles do that. It's also a good idea to get pasteurized eggs. If you get an egg from the farm, it's not going to be pasteurized. And then you might run into, maybe salmonella issues. So pasteurized eggs are what we use in the industry. Any egg that you're going to buy at the grocery store have been flash pasteurized.
All right.
Therefore, they're pretty safe to eat, rare and medium rare. And in this case, just tossed in noodles.
All right.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's the scary part of this dish. I've ordered this dish at restaurants before, only for it to come with all the eggs scrambled in the sauce, and I couldn't eat it. It was just horrible. It was the worst thing ever. So the other way that you could do this would be put the yolk into the pan with the noodles just before you remove it, and the extra heat from the pan will transfer into the egg.
It's my first experience with a Zoom class, so it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's neat. This is my first experience teaching via Zoom as well. I wanted to make sure it was a very quick and to the point dish.
Good.
Did well.
Thank you. So, cool thing is I've discovered that Smith's here in Cedar City carries Bucatini pasta. So if you're interested in that specific type of pasta, you can find it there. You can substitute for spaghetti. It's not as fun because then you can't blow holes, blow air through the noodles.
It's called boca.
Trying to use as a straw. It's kind of funny.
Is it called Bucatini?
Bucatini.
Bucatini.